Two. There we go. Are we going?
We're going.
We're going.
We're going.
We can edit this part out.
Okay, we will.
We'll edit this part out.
I'm sure this will not be edited out.
This
at
probably
all.
won't be edited out. Hi, everybody. That's CC.
And that's JT.
Welcome to the CC and JT Amateur Hour, where production values go to die. If you've been watching our video series here as we try to do the podcast, blogcast, whatever, we've been trying around different places around the house. Also, if you've been following along with CC's Spooktober reading Edgar Allan Poe, she's also been going around the house. We have lots of places around the house where we can do this. This is actually... What?
We do.
We do.
Lots
this is actually where we usually do our podcast. This is what we do. Is Cece would actually sit a little closer over there, and I would sit here. And so, but we're trying back our old place because
it's our comfort zone.
Trying to find a comfort zone here. So mostly, I would actually rather look at her than look at the camera. So it's I'm what
hearts.
Yeah, hearts.
Wait.
Okay, we're adorable.
Oh, we should probably explain that for people who...
Yeah, okay, go ahead.
K-dramas.
What?
This is Korean, am I correct?
Right.
It is a Korean way to say, I love you.
Okay.
I am probably not doing it properly, but
yeah.
Heart.
Okay, so we sucked up that part of your life, and we apologize for it. You'll never get it back. But if you are new to the experience here, oh, by the way, it is October 15th, 2023. Yes. And if you're new to this experience, Cece and I are self-published writers of a certain age, obviously. And what we do is we get together every week and we pretend to talk about writing. What we really do is
drink
we coffee. Yeah, we actually didn't practice that. You probably
Cheers.
couldn't tell.
Well, after 40-something years together, you start to do the same things at the same time.
That's kind of sad, actually. Okay, so we are writers of a certain age, independent writers, not very successful writer, but it depends on what you define as success. We have a fairly large social media, I don't want to say presence, but we're all over the place. And if you wander out to our videos page, I'm slowly updating it with all the social media presence, but you'll find our YouTube out there, you'll find our TikTok, and you'll find our Instagram out there, and our Blue Sky out there. And we're trying to make that shift away from Twitter/X because
it's a mess.
It's a mess. It's a pit. But it's a hard habit to break, to be quite honest. But
and a lot of people are still lingering on there. There are people who have connections that they don't want to lose because everyone's migrating to different platforms. So we're probably going to hang out there, just not update it very regularly.
Yep. So we're going to try to move on to there. I tried post, but it doesn't seem to be. I don't like the interaction very well, but that's just me. But we're really trying some stuff out here, and we've been working at this for over 10 years to become an overnight success. Maybe someday it'll happen.
Well, honestly, in my case, I've been writing for 40 years.
Oh, you poor thing.
Because quick little story, since we're not really coming up with anything tangible to talk about today, but back early in our marriage, when we had very little of anything, we were renting a furnished apartment, which most hideous furniture in the world, late 70s mishmash with shag carpet, pretty disgusting. But one of the first things that we bought furniture-wise was that you bought me a desk.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that we still had it. We had there was like a shelf that went on top of it.
Yeah, that's fine.
I think that finally went in the last basement flood. But along with that, I also got an electric typewriter. Mm-hmm. And when our kids were little at home, part of what I would do to maintain my sanity, because it's wonderful to be home with your kids, and I really am thankful I was able to do it, but you need some other form of mental stimulation aside from, teaching your kids how to talk and walk and feed and, all that good stuff. So very early in our marriage, you bought me desk, typewriter, and that was 40 years ago. So I've been fighting this overnight success for 40 years now.
What we usually do at the beginning of these podcasts or video cast, I'm not sure what
vlogs.
Vlog.
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 Yeah.
Vlog.
You need to be able to speak Danish in order to do these things now. Oh,
It's
by
a
the way,
clog.
hi, Kappa. What we try to do is we do some quick updates on where we are professional, and I sort of gave on our professional side of our lives. And you heard part of what we said earlier, that CC out on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube is doing a daily reading of Edgar Allan Poe poetry.
Yes, poetry, and I've done at least one of his short stories, but the short stories are surprisingly long when you read them. And I did the Telltale Heart, which became a 17-minute video that has not had a lot of views. I do like the stories. I was hoping to read the Cask of Amontillado, and I was playing with the idea of maybe doing it in segments, but I don't know that that would be as much fun. So I'm reading from a book. It's a selection of Poe stories and poems, and a lot of the poems that I've been unfamiliar with. So it's been fascinating to read them and to see that not all of them were as dark as I expected.
Mm-hmm. Well, he was a complex character.
He was very complex.
So check CC out, and I'll put some links in the on the blog post that goes out to everybody. And of course, if you go out to our website at www.carsonhume.com, you can you can find those links, and you can also sign up for whenever we do a blog post. Whenever we do a blog post, you can go ahead and get notified whenever that happens. So please sign up for that. As for me, I'm at a point of frustration with myself. I'm hardly living with myself right now. It's difficult to live with me. What the point I'm trying to make, though, is I've been retired for 12 months and 15 days.
Something like that.
Yeah, today's the 15th, right? Yeah, today's the 15th.
12 months and 2 weeks.
Yeah, and a day.
And a day.
And a day. And I wrote 2 books. I wrote a book, and I almost finished a book, but I haven't done anything like publish anything. And that, it's one of those things is you probably, if you're watching this, you can probably relate to what I'm about to say. I can't wait till I retire because I'm going to write every day and I'm going to publish and I'm going to get some stuff out there. And I haven't. So I've got this one space epic that's ready to go. I think I'm going to just figure out somehow to either put it on
Vella.
Vella.
Kindle Vella, yes.
Kindle Vella, or I'm going to just, put it out there, on the website. I'm not sure what I'm going to do. But I'm just going to start putting it out there and, put it out there for criticism, put it out there for critiques. And the upside for doing that, of course, is that I can edit it and clean it up as people are finding mistakes or have suggestions for improvement.
Honestly, I think this would be a good time to test Kindle Vella because some people have liked it, others are not so sure about it. So if you're not feeling real, married to one particular idea, then maybe it would be good to just test it out and see how it works, and we can talk about it on here, how you feel.
Yeah.
But I've heard that you need to post a series of chapters at once, which you have ready to go. So you can start that, and then people can, I believe you subscribe, or you can just, I'm not quite sure 100% how that works, but it would be a good test situation.
Yeah. And I've got something like 60-something chapters, so if I could do 2 or 3 a week,
Yes.
that'll get it out there, and
and
I should actually just get it out there so I actually get something, out in the world.
Right.
So
it's a thought. I mean, it would give you something to focus on, at least getting it formatted and up there, because I think part of your problem is that you're not feeling really motivated in any particular direction right now, and everything is overwhelming, like we discussed.
Yeah.
Paralysis through overanalysis. I think that was last week's podcast.
Yeah, there's a lot going on. And I've got in my ideas folder, I've got dozens of ideas, and of course Nanowrimo's coming up, and I thought I was going to be doing the 3rd Maggie book during Nanowrimo, but now I'm not so sure. I may just grab something out of the ideas folder. I know you're thinking that I should do the 3rd Maggie book, but it's that's going to be some hard writing, and so. But I'm not saying that I'm not going to do it. It's just, pulling the trigger.
Actually, after having read a variety of Edgar Allan Poe poems over the last month, maybe you could do a poem a day and put out a poetry book.
I tried to do that once, and poetry is really hard.
It is, but you need to find the style that's most comfortable to you, because it can be very free form. Yeah. If you find a style that really represents you, something to think about. And then you don't have the story arc problem.
Mm-hmm.
You can just kind of work on something different every day. Actually, that's a thought.
Yeah.
That'd be kind of fun.
Poetry, though, yeah. And that might
I
be
know.
something that we could try in the future together. We could take turns doing a poetry book,
Yes.
and then after 2 months, we'll have 60 poems, one poem each. Ooh, that might be a future project.
I think that'd be fun.
Yep.
We could do like love poems, or we could do dark poems. I mean, there are so many different. We could do poems about Nevada.
Yeah, we could just be, the CC and JT poetry book.
Yes. And we could talk about your grandfather who had a broadcast. Was it on like KUNR or something?
Yeah, by University of Nevada Radio. Yes.
Yes, where he discussed poetry, and we have the old audio tapes from that. But obviously, that is an issue because of copyright. And the poems that he discussed were not his own, so
and
it's not something we can put out there.
The tapes are probably no good anyway.
Maybe not. We can always test them. I'm sure. Yeah. Well, we do have a tape player upstairs. We have an audio cassette player, so if you ever feel like listening to them, we can pull them out.
Yeah, that's kind of spooky. Can you imagine listening to my grandfather, who's been gone since the 80s?
He passed away the year our middle child was born. So
that would be, we don't need to say because
I'm just trying to think. It's 35 plus years now.
Yeah. Okay. So anyway, that's a lovely bit of hilarity and excitement for you.
My point was that there is some history in your family of. Yeah, I believe your grandmother may have also done some poetry, and you definitely have a lot of literary history in your family.
Yep. Excuse me. Sorry. I know that was my coffee, man. Yeah.
That is the question, isn't it?
Yes. Okay. So writing projects. You picked your Nanowrimo project, right? Are you going to do something from scratch, or are you going to work on something that you've started, or what?
Actually, I went onto the Nano website yesterday, and I've updated. I'm doing two things at once with the same project because it allows you to set up the November challenge for the 30 days, 50,000 words. But it also lets you set up your own personal challenge, which I hadn't seen before. I think this may be a new function. So you can pick the amount of time you want to do it. You can pick the amount of words that you expect to write. So I've set it up for the same project with both challenges for the period of November for 30 days. I'm currently at around 23,000 words on my work in progress.
Right.
So this is a second draft of the book that you read.
Right.
It's changed significantly, in part due to your awesome suggestions. So I'm using these two challenges as a way to finish this book. The other super secret project that I was going to do for November was somewhat related to this book. I'm planning to do that, maybe not in the format that I had originally intended. I may just do it as a book, or I may try Kindle Vella at some point, because I was thinking of 31 days of particular stories that relate to one of the characters in this book. So I have those two things set on my calendar. I want to release this book in 2024, potentially the second book, maybe as, on a chapter serialized version. So that's what I'm looking at right now. I'm going to continue working on my project, getting this damn book finished, getting it out there. Like you said, I haven't published anything in a while, so I want to get this out there. Of course, we did publish a book this year.
We did?
From Tundra to Tiara.
Oh, that's right. We did,
We published that in January, and we got a very nice review on it. So thank you very much. We appreciate
Yeah, we did publish a book this year. I'd forgotten all about that. Oh.
So I know it hasn't gotten a lot of love, but the people who have read it have seemed to really enjoy it. Yeah. Maybe we just haven't found the right audience for it yet. The review we got did mention Disney and Star Wars, which I thought was very interesting because now Disney owns Star Wars. So, hey, Disney, if you were
honestly, it never crossed our mind at all, which probably speaks towards the, I don't want to say cliche, what I want to say, stereotype.
Yes.
The stereotype of the main characters, that
they fit into a very specific character set.
Right, and so they're very common across the entire spectrum of literature. So, yeah, I've forgotten about that.
Yes, so it's obviously not anything new and exciting, but it apparently is a very cozy read, so check it out, From Tundra to Tiara. I'm sure we have links to that on our website also.
Yeah, absolutely do. And you know what, if I remember, I'll try to put the review in the blog post that gets emailed to, dozens of people who've registered at our website. That's another hint, by the way, folks. Hint, hint, hint. So,
well, if anyone shows any interest in getting those kinds of updates, we could probably do that on a more regular basis. And my thought, since JT has been rather frustrated with lack of progress on much of anything, is that we need to switch our mindset that we are hobby writers to that we are professional writers. And technically we are. We have published, we have sold books, we have done this for many years, like you said, at least 10 in your case and 40 plus in mine. So we are really professional writers of a certain demographic. We may not be the most financially successful, the most well-known, but we have been doing this for a long time. And that was kind of where my thought for this podcast was going, about the idea of persistence.
Persistence, yeah.
Becoming an overnight success doesn't happen overnight.
Yeah, it takes years to become an overnight success. And we're going to keep plugging away at it.
Yes.
We'll keep plugging away. We have done, this is like podcast. I always try to remember what the count is, 136, 137, something like that.
Right.
So obviously we're persisting in that way. But the secret is, and we mention this every while, we don't podcast, to talk to writers. We podcast because it's coffee.
Also, we have fun doing it. And we've been doing this for so long now. It's been about 3 years.
Yeah, it's been since lockdown.
Yes. So we've been doing this for about 3 years, and it has become a regular part of our Sunday routine. So if we don't do it, Sunday just doesn't feel right.
Yeah, we start twitching and everything like that.
If we have a cup of coffee for breakfast during the week, we kind of feel like we should be doing a podcast.
Especially if it's Jack. If we get Jack coffee, then it's like Jack coffee podcast hand in hand.
So that's kind of something to think about. If you persist, even if you're frustrated with what you're doing, eventually it becomes so much of a habit that you start doing I need my fix. I need to sit down and start typing, or, podcasting or vlogging, or all the things we're trying.
Adorable.
That's what we've been told.
That's what we've been told. Okay. So, if you are having those doubts, and it's easy to have, because writing is a very mentally, emotionally draining. It's
frustrating.
Normal people don't write. Normal people have a life. Writers, well.
It has actually shocked me to talk to people who don't feel like they need to put words on, make up stories, because there are people out there that don't have that mindset. And I've been around so many people, obviously our descendants and you and your grandparents. And I've been around people who write for so long now that people who don't have the inclination to write, it's kind of like, is that actually a thing?
A parallel thing to this, this shows how very weird we are, is we have this thing, and our descendants have it too, is office supplies.
Oh God! Office Depot, Staples.
Office Depot, Staples. Office. Every time we go to Office Depot, it's like going to Mecca. And then our youngest daughter married someone who isn't into that, and it's sort of
However, he does accept it. He understands now where it's coming from, because his thing is trains.
Yeah.
He goes to the Railroad Museum and he's like, oh my God.
But my point being is when we learned this, we sort of cocked our head and went, really?
You don't like pens and paper, and you don't want to buy every notebook available?
Really? Okay, so we're not normal. Deal.
And that's another writer trait. I think we love to collect notebooks. We love empty notebooks because of the potential of what we can write in them, and we never use them. I have so many empty notebooks, beautiful covers sitting around the house.
Yeah.
I may have written in a page. I'll tear the page out so it's still nice and clean.
Yeah, it's
terrible.
It's
now you're learning all of our dirty secrets.
Yeah. So do you think they have like a pharmaceutical or something like that, a prescription for people like us?
I don't know. There is no way to fix us.
I wonder what other traits writers have, like that, because like you mentioned, because
notebooks. We collect books.
What?
We collect books.
We collect books.
Other people have written. I mean, readers and writers both talk about their endless TBR pile
Yep.
that, we go out and buy all the books and never read them all.
Yeah, to be read books.
Yes.
And then there's the stereotype of introversion, which I don't know is actually valid because you have so many writers, public faces of writers. But you see, that's the paradox of being a writer, is because, writers can be introverted, but in order to get their stuff out there, they have to market it. So they have to put themselves out in front of a camera, which I did also this week, by the way. For practice, I did a public-facing video, which I'll try to remember to put that link in the blog post too, just to practice, because the paradox of being a writer is that it's you're very internal, very inside, but you have to put a public face on what you're doing, and so you have to be both public and, I don't want to say private, but you have to be both external and internal at the same time. And for some folks, that doesn't jive. It's a challenge.
Well, the most challenging part about it is putting something that is so raw and something that's so internal out into the world. And then you have to tell people, I've written this, I would like you to read it, when inside you're cringing and going, oh, please don't read it and give me, like a bad review or something, where a lot of reviews are subjective. Yes, you can put out a terrible product. You could, all kinds of typos, and the story's not written properly or anything. But most people put their heart and soul into it. They try to put out the best product possible. And then you have to tell people to read it. And you're kind of like,
And you have to go, and you have to do videos, and you have to go to book signings, or you go to festivals. We're part of the, on Facebook, we're part of the Northern Nevada
Writers Group. Yes.
And we're always seeing people out there, just sort of happy, and they're sitting at their tables with their books and everything like that. And I'm thinking, we're going to have to do that someday, but not today. Definitely not tomorrow.
Well, I have done that. I have gone to book festivals. I did one in Dayton at a garden center, which was a lot of fun. But I've also, and you probably have too, you go to your local bookstore, you see somebody sitting at a table all alone, nobody there. They're just kind of fiddling with their pencil or pen or whatever they're signing with. And you kind of want to go talk to them, but you feel awkward about it because nobody else is there. And it becomes kind of a cycle that, unless you're somebody that's well known, like Stephen King, it's obviously people lined up out the door. Most people, they go to these book signings and they're sitting there for hours alone and nobody ever approaches them. So if you're not a writer, if you're a reader, try to be kind and go up and at least say hi, even if it's like ask them about the book, even if you don't intend to buy a copy. Just talk to the poor people, help them pass the time, because it's scary out there.
Yeah, and that's part of what I was talking about, that public face thing that inevitably we're going to have to do. But it's like I'm you can't see it right now, but I'm cringing inside right now just from the thought of doing something like that.
I will say, though, you don't have to do it, because our youngest, who we've talked about repeatedly, did sell quite a few books. Most of them, I believe, were ebooks. She did start eventually putting them out as physical copies, because I was like, well, I'd like some physical copies. And I do have some, which I should show off at some point to get, if you're into urban fantasy, her books are great. Her name is S.M. Rain. She's all over the internet. But she did one panel at a convention, and she found out that was not her thing. And talk about, socially awkward. She's very internally focused, a lot of social anxiety. And she managed to sell enough to buy a pretty nice house, before burnout and things tanked and, finances and stuff. So you don't technically have to do the book signings to be a successful author.
Yeah.
Technically.
But still, you have to have some
helps.
you still have to have some sort of public face. I don't think there's any way that you can get around it. You have to have some sort of public face. And for me, even doing this video, even doing the video that I did earlier this week, you'll be able to tell that I'm just sort of all about it, and it's just not natural for me. And you should look at, we're doing the podcast here, and we're looking at Audacity, and we're looking at the soundtrack and everything like that. And it's kind of funny to watch.
You can tell when we get very excited because it turns red.
Yeah.
And we get a little loud, and then it gets very quiet.
Anyway, back to the public face thing.
Public face.
So what I asked when I did the video earlier this week, and what I'm asking again now, what we're asking again now, is if you have any suggestions on how to get over that hump, to get past that, whatever cliche you want to say. If there's anything that you can suggest to get us through that, so we can get, start sitting down and, meeting people who want to meet us. There must be 2 or 3 people out there.
Well,
you let us know.
I was just going to say that for the future, maybe for 2024, we're getting to that time of year where we're going to start thinking about our plans for the future in the coming year. Maybe one of our plans should be getting out physical copies of our books, because right now they're all available on ebook through Amazon. If we do the physical copies, we can start hanging out with our local writers, Northern Nevada Writers Group, and maybe start doing some of the functions with them and get past this. Because if you do it as a group, it's much easier. I did mention that I did a signing. It was as a group. I actually had started my own writers group at one point, which was a lot of fun, but people move on. The bookstore is no longer there, things like that. So there are ways to get out there. You don't have to be alone. And there is a community of writers. You can find them. Like we mentioned for Nano, you can work with other writers. You can do write-ins. So we can work on that for 2024.
So we've got some ideas. We've talked about some ideas. We've talked about our own, levels of nervousness, our own little bit of anxiety, which trigger us. We've also talked about some of our books. We've talked about stuff that we're going to put in the blog post. What do you think? This is your opportunity to push back on us. What do you think? Well, first of all, what do you think of our video setup? What do you think of our vlog and our, I don't know.
You're just not comfortable with some of these terms, Grandpa.
Back in my day when you had a camera, you had a big old camera right there, and you had somebody going, action.
No, I mean, I don't know about your grandparents, but mine had the old, I think it was either an 8 or a 16 millimeter movie camera. And somewhere there are, the old hand crank version of the family. And, some people didn't realize it was actually a movie camera, so they're just kind of standing there smiling awkwardly.
Okay, but seriously, folks, if you have any ideas or anything that you could do to help us, transition into the 21st century, we're actually not doing too bad, because we're learning all this social media stuff. And we're learning how to do, have a public face on video. But if you have any ideas that yourself that's worked for you that you want to share, hey, put it out there. Give it to put it out there on social media. Put it into our website, because we would sure love to hear from folks that have any ideas. And
as we mentioned very briefly, persistence is the key to success, I think. Even if it's not financial success, you just have to keep trying.
Yep.
And we just keep throwing out what is it you say? Throw the spaghetti at the wall and see what sticks.
Yeah, something like that.
So we just keep doing that. We're going to be persistent. We have been persistent with the podcast, and now with our new vlog.
Yeah.
We'll see how that works out. But we're trying to build now a presence on YouTube, and I don't know, maybe we should look at local media, those old poor struggling newspapers, and we have a local magazine. We're actually in the same city where our state magazine is published.
Yeah.
So we have opportunities to do things. We just need to get out there and maybe promote ourselves a little more.
But again, any ideas welcome.
Yes.
Any ideas welcome. What has worked for you? What hasn't worked for you? Especially what hasn't worked for you. Save us a little time and effort. We really were all over the place with this because, we didn't really have a topic to begin with. Maybe next week we'll actually have a topic.
Well, I'm thinking not next week, but the last week of October, right before Halloween, we'll probably discuss our final push to get ready for November.
Right, and also
writing.
And that weekend, of course, is also Nevada Day and Halloween. So,
yes.
So we will, at least in 2 weeks, we'll have at least some ideas.
Actually, next week, I think we should talk about Nevada Day and Halloween.
Okay.
And most people don't realize Nevada Day is a holiday in the state of Nevada. Not many states actually have the state admission day as their holiday. Nevada's admission day is actually October 31st. But the holiday now falls on the final Friday in October due to legislation because they wanted to have a big weekend, blah, blah, blah.
Okay, so
we can talk about...
No.
Yeah. I mean, we can talk about it in more detail because you have written a lot about Nevada, and we can talk a little bit about Nevada trivia and how Nevada informs your writing.
Up where the sun always
in
shines.
honor of Nevada Day.
There is the land that... Okay, spare you from the singing thing. We'll stop now. As always, feedback is always welcome. You can reach out to us again, like I keep saying, just through social media, through our website, or just ring us up. Unless you have anything else.
No. No phone calls. no phone calls. That I'll do anything with the phone. Actually, I have to do the phone at work, but you know what I mean.
Anything else?
Are we a little annoyed, Grandpa? No, I
And
don't.
sitting across the table from you is Cece.
And across from me is JT.
Check us out at www.carsonhume.com. Love you lots. Stay out of trouble. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
What am I? Where did it go? Where did it go? You got that?
I'm trying. It won't stop.